Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of Museum of Voices. I'm Shaida, your host. It's been a while since we are on air, and not gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous myself, but I'm going to keep my composure because we have such an amazing person here with me today to discuss something that we feel really, really important. To be honest, I have the strongest urge to call her name with a C, but let's introduce yourself, Qida.
Okay, so hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Akida, or you can call me Kida. I am currently studying business admin in IIUM and a part-time artist and a part-time doing business with my friends. I currently live in Kelang Selangor, my parents.
Also, you are living quite near lah.
Uh,
Ah.
yeah. Oh, so Shaida also live in Selangor, Kelang ke?
Yeah, and around the
Oh,
area
all
lah.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right.
Okay,
That's good to
so
know.
okay, so when we were like approaching you, right? Well, we did ask you about what kind of topic that you would like to share with other people, and you told us that if you could share something with others, you want to talk about self-esteem and also imposter syndrome. So, can you tell us a little bit about your personal experience with these two things?
So in my experience, I still remember during my high school, I was quite having an interest in politics. And I do hold into a political idea, which I don't really want to mention here what I was holding. And because of that, I never really want to hear people's opinion and I feel like I am the one who is right. So
Mm,
that is like a very high self-esteem, that you don't want to hear people's opinion.
mm,
Okay, so when this happened, some people actually told one of my friend that I actually have a certain ego about political view. And also I do have some kind of like entitlement traits where I don't remember what actually happening back then, but then I do feel like I could sense that I have this entitlement where I want people to do something for me, and that is not actually a very good traits. If you are around me at that time, you might want to avoid me in some way. But luckily, I did not really hurt people with those kind of traits. So I would consider that I'm not actually into the far extreme traits of a highly self-esteem person. But as for the low self-esteem, this is where I actually wanted to touch about imposter syndrome. So I experienced a low self-esteem in a phase of my life, which where I experienced this in the towards after I graduated my high school around 2018, where I finished my SPM in that year, until quite recently in 2022. So I have quite a low self-esteem at that time where I actually doubt myself a lot. So, I'm an artist. I do business and being a student at the same time. So I have a lot in my plate. But then how would you do all of these things with a very, very low self-esteem? And I tell you, it is a very, very tough moment for me that I was in. So now let's talk about what is actually imposter syndrome. So how would you actually detect that you are having it? So from my experience, for example, when I do art and I post it online, people saw them and make some compliments and say like, hey, your art is very nice, good job. But then I was like, nah, I can do that better. And actually, no one actually say that my art is terrible, but somehow I sabotage myself by saying that, hey, this is ugly. Is this all that I got? Or sometimes I may think that after I posted my art, and when people see it and say that this is a nice art, but then in my mind I was like, I said that, they only say that it is nice just because they want you to feel good. So those kind of things, those kind of thoughts are self-sabotaging, aka imposter syndrome. It is where it is a thought that you think that you did not deserve anything good. So other than art, a lot of things that I go through in my life where the imposter syndrome and low self-esteem caught up. Like for example, when I am handling my club in my university, and also when I do my assignment, or even when I am interacting with my friends. So that being said, actually, this low self-esteem and imposter syndrome, that kind of makes my life went downhill. So now I'm trying to practice self-love and try to have a good amount of self-esteem, because when you go to the other extreme, which is the high self-esteem, self-esteem, you might find yourself as a person who is arrogant and entitled. And if you have a low self-esteem, which is at the other end, you are sabotaging yourself. And it is just quite irritating when you want to do something, but you yourself are stopping yourself from doing something. So you shouldn't go to this two extreme. You need to be in the center, the balance. So yeah, that's all. Can I talk about my experience so far?
I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting because most people, right, they either we as humans, right, it's really hard for us to be in the middle of the spectrum. We either go towards like the left or the right extreme end, which is like really not healthy, I feel. And I think you explained your experience really, really well. I feel I can totally relate to your experience. I've been having um this problem quite recently as well, and it's really refreshing to hear from you. So, how does imposter syndrome affect a person's self-esteem actually?
So how does imposter syndrome affect a person's self-esteem? So for me, it does affect me in a way where whenever I sabotage myself, I feel like I couldn't do anything, that I just couldn't do anything. So I need to do something perfectly. Then only I will do that thing. Then only I will start to do that thing. So it is actually not a good thing, because it ends up that you will wait for a long time for you to start doing something until you get the confidence for you to actually start doing that thing.
Right.
And it went worse when someone points out a little flaw in your work, and you will be like, oh no, I have done something bad. This is so bad, and I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this work again because I'm just suck at it. And yeah, like you think that your work is very bad just because someone is commenting about it. And how is that happening is because, like, when a person actually, imagine there's a person in front of you actually tried to criticize you, and even when they are actually giving you a constructive criticism, which means it's like a positive ones, even when you know that person is actually talk about something about your work, necessarily your imposter syndrome inside you, in your head will louden the criticism like it sounded very bad to you. It
Mhm.
is like someone outside in your mind, which is the other person in front of you, is trying to validating something inside of you, which is the imposter syndrome. So no, it is not actually that person's fault for doing that. It is totally not their fault for commenting it. They are actually giving unnecessary comments because they want you to improve something. But then you thought that you are just awful for not doing things perfectly. In a way, as time goes by, if this goes untreated, you will feel like you are a lesser human in the kingdom of mankind. And I know it sounds exaggerating when I say that, but I did feel that way at some point of time. If I were given a chance, I want to apologize to the whole world for my existence. You
No.
will feel like a trash at one point, and and that will help you from make any progress in your life, or just to do anything that you are currently doing now, because you tell yourself that you are useless and you are worthless even before you start doing anything. And I still remember, at that moment of time, my diet was very awful. I only eat one meal a day. I took a lot of junk food, never exercise. Even when I'm doing my lifetime hobby, which is drawing, which
Mhm.
is sketching and do arts, it is not interest me anymore. I didn't find any joy in making arts, and it felt very forceful to me to do arts. So the world is just so dark. I feel very soulless and quite dead inside.
I
Yeah.
see.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is totally relatable. Like, because I'm someone who also likes to do something creative like writing. and doing this podcasting, right? And I do face a similar issue where I feel like my work is not good enough. Uh, you just get that feeling, even though people say,
Yeah.
you are doing great. Not a lot of people are doing what you are doing, but you just have that one person inside your head saying that, uh, you're not good. You're not good at all. You're right.
Yeah, it's
Not
just
good.
something that imposter syndrome will live rent free in your head.
Yeah, and that person, that
Yeah.
the yourself in your head is like really self-sabotaging you, and you
Yeah.
really procrastinate, right? Because you want it to be
Yeah.
perfect, but it can never be perfect, I guess. So
Yeah, that's true.
every day you are battling with that person who says you can't do it like that. So,
Mhm.
how do societal and cultural norms actually contribute to this low self-esteem and imposter syndrome?
So with this term of social and cultural norm, like how that it will contribute to low self-esteem and imposter syndrome. So in my opinion, it could be the upbringing of a person, how your parents brought you up.
Oh.
And so by far, I have read in like some people's experiences or some kind of websites,
Mhm.
they said that strict parenting can actually affect the child's self-esteem.
Oh.
Moreover, when we are actually living in Asia, in Asian culture, your parents tend to ask you to have a good grades, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer. You have that you have to achieve something for your parents, like you are participating in a competition that you did not sign up for.
The red
Like
race.
your parents will, yeah, like your parents will start to compare you with your cousin or maybe neighbors or maybe other siblings, and from there you feel like they are pressuring you to achieve a certain level. While they might just use that method to motivate you to improve yourself, but I personally think that it is not a healthy environment. The kid will feel pressured, and when they grow up, they will try not to make any mistake at all. So that's why some people have the perfectionist traits. So, moreover, when you are not someone bright in an academic, like myself, I am actually not really that bright. It is
High five.
just a scary moment when my parents found out about my grades. And and what's worse, when you have a type of parents who doesn't even want to compliment you. So as you grow up, you will think that you don't deserve good things. Compliments seems uncomfortable to hear. Like I myself, until now, I still feel uncomfortable when someone actually compliment me. That is because as a child, you don't get those compliments or any good things when you actually did a good job and get a lot of harsh words and get compared when you did not satisfy them. So that's why when you grow up, you tend to deny all your good work, even though you did it splendidly.
So,
So,
maybe as an adult, right, what we experience as childhood actually impacted us in our adulthood.
yep, I
Mm.
could agree on that.
So, yeah, I think especially when people compliment you, right? Yeah, like you just no lah. You're just like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, true, true.
No
You
lah.
will say that, no, I can do that better. It's always been like that.
We would brush it off, right? When someone compliment us,
Yeah, you try to brush it off.
yeah, that's really unhealthy actually, right? But then
Yeah.
in our culture, right, when we say thank you, like when they compliment us, right, and then when we accept the compliment, they will feel like we are inflating our own balloons.
Yeah, I mean
Right,
that's
they do
quite
that. Yeah.
that's very irony of
Yeah.
that's very irony about our culture itself. So
I,
in the end you just don't know how to interact, how do you respond to a compliment, you see?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually trying to practice that lah. Like when people compliment me, right, on my work or whatever it is that I'm doing, I would say thank you. I received a compliment, and then they say, wow, thank you. Wow. They were like,
Oh,
they were
why? Why
and I'm
would
like,
you choose that?
were you even sincere with your compliments? Like, do you want me to accept the compliment, or do you want me to say no lah like that? Like, what do you want?
Yeah, I know, right? Like you are trying to accept their compliments, you are trying to accept what they are trying to say, but then they are like that, and then you are trying you started to doubt them.
Yeah.
Like, are they actually sincere or not?
And then you
Yeah.
end up being quiet. Like when people say stuff like that, you just smile at them and stuff.
Yeah, true. That's very unhealthy.
So
Mm-mm.
as we talk about these things on self-esteem and also um uh the what the other one I forgot already. Imposter syndrome.
It's a syndrome.
Do you personally like practice the self-care practices such as mindfulness and also exercising? Because just now you mentioned when you were in the abyss, right? You neglected exercise and also you didn't eat healthily. So after you realized about this, right, do you practice these self-care practices?
Yeah, in a way I did. But to be exact, like after I realized my problem, then only I started to feel that I need to improve myself. I need to exercise. But actually, yeah, at some moment in my life, I actually forced myself to eat, and like that alone actually feel forceful, and it's actually not really good for me to force yourself to eat, and that's not right. Eating is a basic needs. So
Mm.
anyways, yeah, I do practice some exercises. Like right now I have some time in the morning. I usually do some 1 hours of workout, a consistent push up, crunches, and etc. And I feel if I feel like a little bit lazy in the morning or have to rush to go to the class, I do a simple Tai Chi movement, like I saw on Instagram. Why Tai Chi? It is simply because those movement looks interesting to try and practice compared to the ones that you usually did in your pendidikan jasmani or PE, physical exercise classes during school. Not trying to belittle the PE classes. Those PE stretches are still cool. I still practice them as well. But sometimes you need to be creative,
Mm.
try something new and interesting, just for you to not to get boring and can motivate you to stay consistent, and moreover you want to make them as a routine. And
Mm.
sometimes when I feel overwhelmed, sad, angry, stressed, or mix of emotions and negative thoughts, which sometimes will be in a very unlucky situation when you feel these emotions like in the middle of you doing something, like imagine you are sad when you are trying to do your assignments. That's really ruin your mood.
Yeah.
So when this come, usually I will pause doing my things that I'm currently working on. And if I had to cry at that time, I will cry. But if you are in a public places, you can always go to the bathroom for a while and just entertain those emotions until you feel settled down a bit. And honestly, I do have a story about that. It does happen to me, and the story goes like this. I was eating in my campus cafe.
Mm.
I broke down in the middle of that public place, and I straight away go to the nearest bathroom and cry inside them. And why that happened actually? So what happened before is when before the recess, I have a class, and during that class we have presentation. So actually my lecturer commented on my group's presentation, and I actually cried about it. And imagine, just because you get comment from your lecturer, and that alone actually made you cry. And that is because something is sabotaging inside you. You thought that you did the things that you did was perfect, but then someone comment to improve about it, and you start to think that it was imperfect and automatically feel useless. In a way, yeah, that's one of the side story that I wanted to tell. And I also practice writing down what I'm currently feeling. Like if you are sad, even if you are happy, angry, or dissatisfied, anything. I try to figure out and write down what I felt at that time. So other than this, if you have a good and trustworthy friend, go to them. Have their consent that you wanted to express something. If God will, you will feel much better. And not to forget to practice good diets, take showers, and for your information, I cannot skip breakfast, or else I will feel like a zombie throughout the day. And I also have like a routine. I try to make it a routine where I have 1.5 hour of swimming session in a week, and it did really help me reduce my stress during my campus.
Do you find positive pep talk, right, improves self-esteem and actually combats this imposter syndrome?
Hmm. In a way, yes, but you still need to know who you are listening to, because some people will give you too much of the positive vibe that can fall into toxic positivity situation. Well, it is always okay to feel some negative vibe in your life sometimes. So anyway, I still remember that my lecturer did give the class an assignment where we need to watch Islamic video until the end of the semester,
Mm.
and we need to jot down what that we have learned in the video. So along the way, I listened to Mufti Mank,
Mhm.
and for those who know for those who know him, you know how what he speaks about family, about love and self-confidence. And it does make me feel much better. Like furthermore, at that moment of time, I am still dealing with my troublesome imposter syndrome, and it does help me feel much better. I feel like having like a hope to be loved and belonging is over there when I listen to these positive talks. So maybe you can also listen to this episode of Museum of Voices, right? Like hosted by Shaida itself. Like because you know, when listening to other people's experience, you can also make your day better. And because you acknowledge that you are not alone battling in certain conditions. So yeah, in a way I found that positive pep talk is very, very good to to boost your confidence and have like those positive emotions.
And okay, so we have come to the end of our session. Do you have any other things you would like to say to our listeners? Because as per the traditional thing that we do here, usually my guests would drop their socials or like LinkedIn. And I know that you have your own business, right? Maybe you want to
Yeah.
uh
So
shameless plug.
well, like if I want to promote myself, maybe yeah, I can promote two things, which is like first my art account, Dokida 67, DOQIDA 67. That's my Instagram. And also my small business that I do with my friends, K Fine Design, KAYFINE, K as like in OK and fine designs.
Okay,
Design with an
fine.
S. K
Okay,
Fine
fine.
Designs. Yeah. Everything is in like no caps lock and no underscore or something. You just K Fine Designs. Yeah. And also like as for the last words, I hope that anything that you do, live in your present. And like I know some people actually would worry too much about their past, what you're doing in your past, what, and then like how am I going to tackle the future? What am I going to be in the future? And actually that is like, if there's one tips, like if you worry too much about something, take 2 minutes or 5 minutes, pause a bit and think. Is the thing that you worry about is something that you actually can control? If the things that you can if the things that you worry about is the things that you can control, then you have to do something about the things that you are worried. Act upon it. But if the things that you worry about is something that you cannot control, like the future,
Mhm.
then probably you just have to stay that away. Just don't think much about it. That yeah. So live in the present and actually tackle. That's one of the tips that I actually saw in social media sometimes when they talk about it, and it actually makes sense because sometimes you worry about something because you didn't start act upon it. Like
Yeah.
macam like for example like assignments, like
Oh,
you know the due date is coming near but you still didn't start anything, so better you start to not to rather than worrying about it. It
better
is much
start than
better for you
worry.
to start.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, true. Start on the things that you can control and just like not don't think much on something that you cannot control. So that I think that is the last word that I would try to talk to as my last word for this podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Kida, for your really wise words and for your time today, and also for sharing your stories with us on this episode. And guys, please go follow her Instagram. Go, go, go. And okay, all the very,
Thank you.
all the very best, Kida, and may Allah bless you always. Okay, bye bye.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you so much, Aida. Thank you.